I 26 female black and my boyfriend 32 male white have been dating for about 5 months now, and he is honestly the best thing that ever happened to me. He is the first guy who's ever made me consider marriage and starting a family. I did love him. Now to the story. Last weekend was his mom's 60th birthday and my boyfriend was gonna go to the birthday party. He thought it would be a nice occasion for him to introduce me to his family, so he asked me to join him. We let his family know that he was bringing me and they were okay with it. His parents' place is 3 hours away from the city we live in, so we decided that we were gonna spend the night. So, we arrived at his parents' place and his mom, dad, brother and sister were there. They hugged me while greeting me and I honestly thought they were genuinely happy to meet me. It didn't feel like anything was off. They all seemed like nice people. So we spent the evening talking, and there was a lot of laughter and everything was going great. At around 8 p.m., my boyfriend and his brother leave for the airport to pick up a relative of theirs who was flying in for the party. So, him left at the house with his mom, dad and sister. I didn't feel unsafe or anything. They had been nice to me the whole time. I had left my phone charging in the room we were gonna sleep in, so I excused myself to go check if I had any important messages or calls. There weren't any, so it didn't take long. I start heading back to the living room, and as I'm walking back, I hear them talking. Then his mom asks, "So, what do you think about her?" I immediately knew they were talking about me, and I honestly wanted to know what my potential in-laws thought about me, so I stopped and listened. His dad says, "She's nice." His sister agrees with him and adds, "She's pretty too." Then his mom says something that immediately made me sick to my stomach. She says, "Yeah, if only she wasn't a king N-word." And they all agreed with her. My heart dropped. I tiptoed back to the room and I sat there so confused. I was shaking so much I didn't know what to do. I wanted to call my boyfriend, but I had a weird feeling, so I didn't. I felt so alone and unsafe. I felt like I couldn't trust anyone around me, not even my boyfriend. I live in Canada and people here are not as open with their racism as in other places, which in my opinion, is much more scary. Now at that moment, the only people I could think of asking for help were my sisters. One of my sisters lives in the US and the other one is in Canada but in a different province. They both live far away, so there is nothing they could have done to help me at that moment, but I felt like they are the only people I could trust. We have a WhatsApp group chat, so I sent them a message telling them what happened. I have lived in Canada for a couple of years, but it's not easy to make trustworthy friends here. Canada is a lonely place. I have met a lot of people, but I don't feel like any of them are my friends. If you are an immigrant in Canada, you probably understand what I mean. Anyway, back to the story. So my sisters were like, "You need to find a way to get out of there immediately." They tell me to make up an excuse saying I had an emergency and needed to leave. I stayed in the room for some time scared to death. It took everything in me not to start crying. After I had collected my thoughts and calmed down, I did what my sisters told me to do. I hadn't unpacked my bag yet, and luckily, we brought my car cause it's fuel efficient compared to my boyfriend's. I took my bag and car keys and passed the living room in a rush, saying something came up and I had to leave. I didn't give them a chance to ask any questions. I just got in my car and drove away. It was getting late and I wasn't in the right state of mind to drive back home. I just wanted to get as far away as possible before stopping at a hotel for the night. My boyfriend had called me a couple of times. I called him back, but I couldn't bring myself to tell him what had happened, so I gave him the same excuse I gave his parents. He asked if he should come home as well, and I told him it wasn't necessary. I went home the next day and my boyfriend showed up at my apartment a few hours later. I looked at him and it felt like all the love I had for him had just disappeared. Though I acted like everything was fine, I wondered if he was racist too. He had been so great during our whole relationship. I never once felt like he had any racist thoughts or feelings. But I can't help but think about how his family made me believe they were nice people, and I keep wondering if Hess also just pretending to like me. We don't live together, but my lease is ending in July. He owns his place, so I was supposed to move in with him after my lease ended, but I have managed to get out of moving in with him. I don't feel like I love him anymore. It's been 3 days now since we got back from his parents' place, and I want to end things with him without it causing any trouble, but I'm really scared. I want to tell him what happened, but I'm scared of finding out that Hess racist as well. I don't know how Hess going to react. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but there are so many stories of women getting murdered by their partners, and I'm scared that I could end up killed too. I guess I'm imagining the worst case scenario and I'm judging him based on his parents' actions and not his. But I am genuinely scared. Even if he isn't racist, his family is. And if we stay together, no matter how much I try to avoid his family, there are still gonna be situations where I'll have to interact with them, and I don't think I can ever move past what they said. Please help. Update 1. I couldn't keep up with all the comments, but 99.9% of them said to talk to him, and so I did. He didn't get all defensive or angry. He just listened to what I had to say, and we ended up having a great conversation about it. So, yesterday we went on a coffee date. Things were a little awkward at first, so as soon as we sat down, I just straight up told him what happened. I expressed how much it bothered me that he left me all alone with his racist parents without a warning and how terrified I was. He profusely apologized and said he would talk to them about it, and he swore he had no idea that his parents felt this way about black people. I asked him how he didn't know, yet he grew up in their homes. They raised him, so he surely must have heard some racist comments from them! He explained to me how during his childhood, all the people in his hometown were white. The neighborhoods were all white, the kids in his school were all white, and all his teachers were white. So race wasn't really a topic that ever came up in their home or school or anywhere he went. Everyone was just white. He said his parents have always been very kind-hearted people, and those were the people he thought he was bringing me home to. He didn't think that skin color was something he had to worry about, and it didn't cross his mind that he was bringing a POC to a place that had only had white people. He was truly apologetic for that and said he should have known better. Anyway, we kept talking and he told me about the first time he met a POC in real life. He was 19 years old and he had just moved from his hometown to our city for college. He said he loved meeting people from different places with different cultures and backgrounds and hearing about all their different experiences, which reminded me of when we first met. I thought he was really weird cause he would ask me all these questions about my culture and home country. He honestly had so many questions, some of which I didn't even know the answers to. I googled the population of his hometown, and according to the 2022 census, 93% of the population is white. So back then, during his childhood, it was probably 100% white. So, I have chosen to believe him cause I guess he thought his parents would have been as open-minded as he was. Some of you might not agree with this decision, but I've decided to give him a chance to prove himself before ending things with him. But, I pointed out that if he plans to be with me, a black woman, he needs to understand that he cannot turn a blind eye to any discrimination I might face, including discrimination from his own family. I also told him I didn't expect him to cut ties with his family, but it's gonna take a while to salvage my relationship with them, and that I'm not yet ready to hear an apology from them. He agreed to this and promised to pay better attention and reassured me that he was on my side. I don't know if he has already spoken to his parents, but this morning I woke up to an apology DM from his sister and the dots connected. In her message, she stated that she was shocked to hear her mother's words and that she doesn't believe in that. She just agreed with her cause it was her mother and she didn't know what to do at the moment. His sister is attending college in our city, so I had met her a couple of times before. Like maybe 3 or 4 times, so I'm thinking she was the one who gave their parents the heads up. She and I weren't that close, but the few times we've met, I didn't feel any hint of racism. We were always civil with each other. Anyway, I still haven't responded to her message and I don't think I'm going to for now. I don't even know what to say to her. As for my boyfriend and I believe we and I had a meaningful conversation. I'm still not moving in with him, but I think we might be able to maybe work things out. We might not pick up where we left off, but I know we can get back to where we were if we both put in the work. Update 2. I was waiting to see what his parents would say, but it's been 5 months and I still haven't heard from them. My boyfriend said he spoke to them and they apologized, but I don't know for sure cause I haven't spoken to them. I told my boyfriend that I was willing to talk with them and he said he'd let them know, but they still haven't reached out. If they're apologetic about what they said, it shouldn't take them this long to reach out. I feel like they want me to be the one that initiates the conversation, but I feel like they should be the ones to reach out first. Also, where would I even start? I've spoken to my boyfriend about this and he seems torn, like he doesn't know what to do. As for his sister, although she apologized, things are still awkward between us. Maybe one day we'll be able to move past this. Anyway, we are still together and things are going great for now. I still love him and I'm hoping that it works out between us, but the fact that his parents haven't made any effort to have a conversation with me or anything is kinda bothering me. I'll update you if ever I speak with them. My husband 38M doesn't think I 39F love him. For reference, let's call my husband Jack and my daughter Lily. Jack and I've been married for about 10 years, dated for 5, and have a 4-year-old. Overall we've had an absolutely wonderful relationship. Sure, occasionally we hit a rocky spot, but we always recovered stronger than ever. Most of our friends look at us as the ideal couple too. I've never doubted that he loves me and I've tried my best to reciprocate it. Even when he wasn't home often during our first 5 years of marriage, he came back home after that since he got a promotion. We have great communication and I already am planning on how to approach this with him, but a second opinion would be nice just in case someone else already dealt with something similar. Yesterday he was doing some very acrobatic exercise in our backyard. He does this every day even when Hess almost delirious from fever, which was hilarious to see. I joked that he'd leave me to become a monk. He just froze for a second and responded, maybe, after Lily grows up. Sure, this could just be playful ribbing, but I had a bad feeling in my gut and kept poking at him. He almost fell down, which is very odd since he has excellent balance, made me leave so he could focus on his stuff. That especially made the feeling even worse. The rest of the conversation happened at dinner. The gist of what he said is something like, the signs are all there. He mentioned that we haven't been as romantic or intimate as of recent. He even said something about less attraction on my end, which isn't true. Then mentioned weeks of silence. I don't remember this happening at all. Frequent absence. I haven't been going out much except with my friends for dinner dates, which isn't often, just 4 times a week for now. Something about initiation. The only one that somewhat made sense was how I was cutting couple time for friend time or game time, which doesn't happen all that often. I can only count 2 or 3 times last week where I did that and we still had an hour or so out of plan 3 or 4 to spend together, so he shouldn't have an issue. What I had next honestly broke my heart and I almost started crying right there. I don't think you love me as much as I do you, but that's fine. Well, raise our kid, grow old and exist till we die. I already have a few hobbies that make me happy. I can't make you responsible for all my happiness. That would be unfair, and he said that with the most deadpan expression ever, like we were talking about the weather or how our day went. I tried to make him understand that this hurt me, but it didn't seem to land at all. He just kept staring at me blank-faced and I honestly felt terrified. Afterwards we slept in the same bed after he put Lily to sleep and cuddled like normal, which was so jarring to me. I've put a lot of work into keeping us together, so to hear this from him has hurt me deeply. It's even worse because what he describes sounds exactly like his parents. They're 2 old bitter people who stayed together to raise him and still stay together for God know why. I've never seen them be loving towards one another and only once towards him. He was always very particular about that stuff and said he never wants to have something like that. A few years ago he said that he was so glad we weren't like that and that he was so lucky to have someone who actually loves him and won't spontaneously stop because folded clothes wrong. Which made me fall in love all over again to know how much I meant to him. And then Therese, all that's tough, he said, and I honestly can't remember something like not talking to him or silence. But I remember how his mother used to forget things. Like she'd do something wrong, get that wrong thing pointed out and then forget it ever happened. One time she was saying something about how my kind of people are less likely to succeed in business and should become a housewife, which is weird because she's a lawyer and he certainly hasn't said anything like that and is very proud of my passive income stuff. My husband called her out on it stone face like yesterday and defended me. I didn't like that he said that I made more than him at the time cause I was afraid his mom would say something, but she backed down after that. She forgot about that incident a day later. Couldn't recall that lunch or what we did or anything sound that 1 hour period. He didn't want to subject me to that, but I insisted since family is pretty important to me, so we went back a few times. This same thing has happened at least 2 times, the target switching to him. I'm proud of him for standing up to her and she can't remember any of it. Eventually I got a begrudging approval from her. His dad didn't care too much and was, whatever makes you happy, from the start, which was nice. I'm crying my eyes out at a friend's house. I wanted to take Lily with me this morning, but she was in the middle of some class with Jack helping her do some activity the teacher gave them, so I just went on my own. I feel so heartbroken right now and I don't know what could have happened to make him think this way. I've been having a great few years since Hess been home the last 5 or so years and lightened the load on taking care of Lily. What happened? Does anybody have experience dealing with something like this? This is a complete breach of my trust and I'm hurting so much from what he said. Any advice is helpful. I plan on returning at lunch and dinner for Lily's sake, but I'll try to talk to him after I've settled for a day. Edit 4 hours in. I've cancelled my plans for this week and told my friends nothing about why. One of my close friends who is very friendly toward any husband, asks for him every time I go to their houses, and spoils and plays with my daughter, then suggested it was my husband and said he was controlling and other things. I told to stop but she didn't and nobody in the group did anything to stop her. Some even joined in. I've cut them all off. Can't believe this. Edit 5 hours in working on what to say tonight, also working on replacing friend time with date nights. Somebody said I have to make him fall in love with me again. That's a goal. Edit 7 hours in went back home, mostly finished the list of things to say. Found him repeatedly smashing his shoulders into a tree and actually denting it. Lily was watching and eating ice cream. She seemed tired but didn't want to go inside yet. I'm making dinner tonight. This went better than expected. I wish I could say there were tearful embraces and we spent a passionate night rekindling our marriage in record speed like in a Lifetime movie. But no. Still, this is what I'd say is one of the best case scenarios. Firstly, I'll clarify from the other post on a few things I've noticed that people are getting blatantly wrong. Most seem to think that I are gone without him several nights a week, 2 to 3 times max. 4 was a unique case and I misstated that. Don't initiate sex. I'm the only one initiating and I get turned down half time which, as you can imagine, is doing wonderful things to my self-worth. I literally have to spend minutes convincing him to get any more than 3 times a week. Cancel plans with him regularly for friends. I want to say no but am beginning to doubt my own judgment. He isn't invited out that often to friend night. He is invited to every single friend night. He just prefers not to come. Affair. I'm not going to parties or clubs or anything like that. That a hard boundary I set for him as well. The get-togethers and dinners are usually held a few houses down at my former friend's house. A 10-minute walk away. Are seemingly disinterested in him, his interests or your family life. I don't even know how to respond to this. I'm tired. Why are you laughing at him being delirious and still having the will to train? I was next to him with a towel, an inflatable fall bed and water. He would literally drag himself with his fingers to train if he could. I think him entitled to a little chuckle after that much safety prep. Now onto the update that could've gone better, but I can say with confidence that I've done everything I could when it came to yesterday. Dinner was very good. Jack and Lily loved their meals, and afterward I did what a commenter suggested and asked Lily, "Do you love mommy?" She answered yes. Do you love daddy? The yes was bigger. You think daddy loves mommy? Another adorable yes. You think mommy loves daddy? Silence. I felt like I got slapped. I'm not sure if it showed on my face because Jack immediately came between us and rubbed her hair. He gave a very loud, boisterous "of course she does," picked her up and carried her to bed while tickling her. Pretty sure I was still reeling from that revelation, but I snapped out of it. Weirdly enough, he seemed annoyed when he got back, which is strange since he rarely ever shows something like that. Anyway, I remembered my points and pretty much unloaded everything in a half blubbery mess. I said that I was sorry for everything, that I got too caught up with old friends and I was blinded by all the activities and catching up and get-togethers that I didn't realize how much time I was cutting from our plans and our time and family. I was sorry for leaving Thud Morning and trying to make this about me when Hess trying his best for our daughter. I've been a bad partner, I know. I told him that I really appreciate that even if he has doubts, Hess still willing to be true to me, and am proud of him for having the courage to communicate because it really needed to be said, and how I couldn't imagine how hard that was for him. That I wouldn't be associating with that group again because I realized what they really thought of him, and that I was stupid not to have realized it earlier. That I know I hurt him and broke his trust, and am sorry he had to go through all of this, and that I never noticed because I was too caught up in my life when I should have been caught up in our lives, and am sorry. That we should be a team, and that I don't only want to stay together for Lily but I want him. If he had anything else to say or any doubts to please say it because he'll genuinely listen this time and won't get defensive. Q hand holding over table that I do really care for him, and I was so sorry that I haven't shown it recently, and to please just give me a chance. Just one chance, that's all I needed. To give me the opportunity to show that I love him. He just took a few breaths and said general issues that I pretty much initially dismissed. The intimacy was because I apparently rushed it every time, and it felt less like making love and more being a living, breathing dildo. That hurt a lot. I swear I felt chest pain right there, and I don't understand what I did to possibly make him feel that way. He mentioned how little I spend on Lily as well, and that had been trying to get us together more often, only to have me come home tired half the time. He also said that it would be a while before he trusts me enough to say anything that might send you running to your friends, which hurt considering the fact that I gave them up for him, but I mostly understood where he was coming from now that I wasn't feeling attacked by what he said. It still hurt when he added, "You'll change for a week or two then change right back and forget it ever happened." I told him that was fine, and all he had to do was let me show him how much I care. I told him that was fine, and all he had to do was let me show him how much I care. All in all, that was great. All the planning paid off, and it felt like a weight was off my chest. I even did the small gestures of comfort stuff during it, like holding hands and meeting eyes. I could almost see a little change in his expression, mainly the eyes. He was blank-faced throughout the whole thing, but I could tell he was fighting to not break down since he rarely trembles. One of his tells is when his fingers start to spread out like some silly claw shape. That certainly didn't happen before. I knew there was hope. I've already booked a babysitter on his free day and have a reservation for a fancy restaurant that he likes. He agreed to go out with me with a small nod, and I honestly felt ecstatic. I immediately hugged him, and even though he was a bit stiff at first, he returned it. It's been a while since we've felt together now that I think about it, and the feeling is different and bubbly. We went to sleep in the same bed and got excited when he held my neck and brought us closer and stared my eyes while touching foreheads. Then disappointed when he just went to sleep there. I know it'll be a long road, and if everything goes well I'll touch on how my needs could be met a bit better. Sex seems to be off the table because, as a commenter said, you pestered him while he was stressed so much that it's a chore to him now, and forcing it will only cause resentment. If he initiates, great, they'll try every now and again and not nag him if he doesn't seem into it. I've realized that my ego really took a hit when he refused when I initiated, and that I had to beg him other times just to feel loved by the only person whose opinion matters when it comes to my body. We both have work to do, especially when it comes to communication, and I'm already looking for a therapist or counselor who fits our criteria. Also got the books recommended to find our love languages and making this work. Since this morning I've tried my best to initiate regular cuddling, which he seems to prefer over sex at the moment. Also little hugs from behind when he has cooking, or kisses and pecks make him jolt him sometimes. I don't know how I could miss this. He even turned his cheek to the side one time, but that might have been by accident. Hess been very receptive otherwise, and our daughter seems to be happier for it. Might update one more time at the end of the week and that should be it. Thanks for everyone who helped me come up with points and what to do. And to all those people who say he should leave me. Seethe. It isn't happening. Second chance.